from fire extinguishing and bridge inspection with Dr. and council. Our motivation is currently to perfect and optimize the current design of the quadcopter by a previous senior design team for possible purchase from the county. We will be designing a new release mechanism for the chemical fire extinguisher. It will be able to make the inspection of bridges safer for engineers and inspectors and help to prevent deaths and injuries from the extinguishing of small fires. For bridge inspection, there has currently been, since last year, one death from an engineer who was inspecting the Aqueduct Bridge in New York. And there was also 46 deaths and many injuries in the 1967 Silver Bridge collapse. And this could have been prevented had there been more inspection of these bridges. Fire extinguishing, there would also be a possible way to, in the future of this technology, to completely eliminate the firefighters and allow them so that they wouldn't have dangerous exposure to these certain scenarios and possible injuries or deaths. So far, last year alone, 19 firefighters died in the Arizona wildfire, and just currently this year, up until March 7th, there have been 728 deaths from fires.
One of the main manufacturers is the USA, with Locksmith being one of the top competitors due to the military funding. Some of the other manufacturers are here in North America, Europe, Australia, and Asia. And here in North America, mostly California, Maryland, Florida, Oregon, Texas, Washington. Some of these are timeline, which we follow very strictly. Hopefully, we should be finalizing everything by December. Some of the design, our design objective is basically to incorporate a camera that is going to help out some of the future engineers whenever they do an inspection on the bridges. Also to incorporate make it a release mechanism for the grenade that for the fire extinguishers, and we're going to try to implement it by doing it by carbon fiber.
All right. So presently, our prototype is made through the engineering software SolidWorks, and basically right now we have two different designs, and our next step would be to make it machine the parts, the release mechanism, and install it into the quadcopter, and then we're going to test that release mechanism, and after we test it with the test results, we'll be able to optimize, repair, calibrate, and ultimately modify the entire quadcopter system. In this slide, you'll see our first design alternative. Basically, it's the quadcopter, and what it has installed a top camera on the bottom of the release mechanism, and one of the main functions of our quadcopter would be to inspect bridges, not only bridges but also any tall structures like buildings. And what we need to do is we need to install a thermal infrared camera, and that would rotate about the z-axis and also along the z-axis up and down. On the bottom, we see the release mechanism. Basically, it's a robotic arm, and what it's going to do is going to compress the ball to hold it just enough not to explode it, and also it's going to open up to release it. It's just going to go one motion, one direction. Okay, and this is our second design alternative, and basically this one we really like because it can hold more than one grenade, fire extinguishing grenade, and basically how it works is it uses a stepping motor to release the mechanism, and it releases the first ball by going in a certain angle, and then it has to have a specific time to come back to hold the second ball.
So some of the functions this drone has is bridge inspection and small firefighting abilities. So therefore, the markets would be either the city or private inspectors. So it's compatible. It's compatible with most frequencies, so you can connect it to the wall and charge the battery right away. It's made out of carbon fiber, so it's ultimately light. To charge it in different places other than the US, you could purchase an adapter on like eBay for like $40, and it'll switch to 60. Materials, most of them are recyclable. Actually, all of them are recyclable. Lithium batteries are recyclable through special plants. You could recycle some of the carbon fiber that actually Boeing and BMW are doing that right now. Other parts that can be used, all the parts can be reused in future projects that you might want to use, because they're really like just parts that are pretty nice.
Any questions?
Sure. So I have a question for you. Why do you need to redesign the last team's version?
Currently, there are release mechanism for tosses, the
Yeah.
extinguishing grenade. So there's a problem with the conservation momentum. The quadcopter, it jumps back, and also since it's releasing fall, it also jumps upwards a little bit. So it's not very accurate in terms of where this grenade is being thrown, unless you can calculate in how far it's going to jump back, and which just might be a little too complicated for an operator.
And I think it became really unstable after that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to be basically dropping it.
Okay. So definitely it's worth stating that. Say like this is, if you state at the beginning, we're redesigning the previous years, just say, hey look, this is why. So one of the things, this is gonna sound really bad, but can you go to like maybe the second or third slide? I mean this with all due respect to the people in these bridges, but the bridge inspection you have, again, from 1967 to 2013, 47 people died. I mean this, that I have all respect to their families, but it might be worth stating some more motivation to that, you know. Saying, for instance, you know, bridge inspections cost this much per year because people take a long time to do them, and if we had a quadcopter with a camera, it could be done in half the time or something like that. Just to add more motivation to it, because the bridge inspection side, the motivation side is just basically, hey, we have a thing with a camera, right? So that could be used for many, many different things also. The fire extinguishing side, so are you guys gonna try to do some sort of test? You're just gonna try to throw the ball, right? Of course, not actually
Yeah, just
extinguish anything with it or anything like that, right? So one of the biggest components would be understanding this whole process of throwing the ball, right? So a lot of times we hope in the end that you have some sort of prediction on where that ball will go, and the idea of stability of the quadcopter is a function of that. So if you're just straight dropping it, that's great, but then talk about the specific instances where dropping it is appropriate, right? If you're trying to throw it in a window of a burning building, flying that thing in there and dropping it doesn't work, you know? So talk about where your applications would be. And then just again, be careful with the word optimize, but as long as you're doing some sort of optimization.
Any other questions?
I know this is an extremely ignorant question, but if you're flying over a fire, doesn't that cause a thermal draft?
Yeah, yeah, we said that a lot last time, so just be careful of that, yeah, yeah. So if it's the drop, just make sure you're high enough out, yeah. So talk about how close you can get to a fire or something.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
Just recognize when you look at it.
Yeah. Good question, that's not me.
Okay. Just not sure about when fire can.
Do you have another question? Thank you, Zach.
You guys
Oh,
have-
yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah. You guys picked carbon fiber for a material. Did you guys think of any alternatives? Because it's obviously more expensive than materials. And so,
Well, luckily, we're optimizing or perfecting the current design, so there's already 2 quadcopters that are basically built exactly the same. The only difference is one of them still has the release mechanism of the camera, the other one doesn't. They're already made out of carbon fiber, so luckily we aren't going to have a sunken cost of purchasing all this carbon fiber. Obviously, if parts break because it crashes, we would have that expense, but it's basically paid for. We're going to be paying for the optimization aspects of it.
So one more quick one, what are you trying to optimize?
The release
So
mechanism.
just the release mechanism. So you're assuming that the quadcopter itself is stable flight already and all of those different things. That's correct.
If they drop the ball.
Yeah. All of these. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Do you have another question? No, thank